Hello, 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 friends. Nicholas here with DIVO TED Talks, Devoted Talks, depending on how you want to say it, where we take ancient wisdom and practices through a modern lens and experience to help you and those you love in suffering in your personal and greater worlds alike. And wow, I'm glad I landed that one. I didn't get to record any time last week. It was so busy. I got my new car. I got my what would have been my mom's 70th birthday where she's still alive, so I had those emotions, but I was so busy with work that I really didn't have the opportunity to do that, and I had to spend time at the dealership, and then I had to do trade-ins. Like, it's just a lot. And then I had one of the busiest work weeks I've had in a while, so it's been very beautiful, but it was also very taxing. It's also been some of our hottest weather we've had, so in the hot yoga room it's been very draining, so it's been really depleting to my kapha, Kapha. Kapha. And it's all has its impacts. I remember feeling like this last year. It's this just a distinct feeling of empty, right? Like my muscles have been drained, my battery has been drained. Just things aren't feeling quite together. I mean, not coalesced energetically. There we go. And so, what does that mean? Well, one, I know some of you out there are feeling this way. Two, I really hope that you understand that it is something that can be managed, but sometimes our life set up as it is doesn't allow that to happen. That's why going on vacation feels very recharging, because we broke the system that is draining our battery in the first place, right? It's kind of like having a million tabs open on your computer. Like, it still runs, but it doesn't run as efficiently as it could if it weren't constantly holding the memory open for each of those things. And I'm bad about that. Like, right, I keep a lot of tabs open on my computer, and it just seems easier to go back to something rather than reopening it each time. And while there's probably some logic to that, with the effects of the fact that it's draining memory on the computer, then it probably isn't as efficient as it might seem, or in the long run worth it. So what kinds of things are you doing that are causing you to be depleted, right? Your morning habits can influence that. How you spend your time and energy. The activities that you're doing may be super depleting all their own, and you may not be restoring that energy with food or sustenance or some kind of rest. And so all of these things building up over time can really cause for maladaptation and just being, exhausted all the time. And so why do I bring this up? It's a great question. One, because I'm dealing with it, but two, like, I know better, but I also don't necessarily see a different way to do things as they are now. So one of the things that I try to talk to people about in coaching and practicing, in my practice, right, through coaching them, is, seeing what is truly necessary and what is not truly necessary. And that can look like a lot of different things depending on the person. And so some people are retired, so they have a completely different subset of obligations than people who don't, right? It doesn't mean they're any less busy, but it's just a different type of obligation because it's more voluntary in many cases. It just depends on the person and, the things that may be going on in their lives. And so before I lose this train of thought, just really cueing in on the fact that we are constantly filling our plates, but we're not cleaning our plates. So when you're trying to put more stuff on there, say for instance, you're eating chicken wings. If you let your bones stay on your plate and you don't empty your plate, you're going to have less and less room to eat chicken, eat wings than you did when you first started. And so you may be having such a full plate that you're not actually restoring energy, right? You're not getting the rest that you need. You're not getting the sustenance that you need because there isn't room for it to be within your, consumption. And so how do we work with that? Well, one, meditation is very powerful because it helps us take a moment where we can kind of cut ourselves off from these habits and these repetitious actions and life situations that are out there. And we can evaluate and we can pay attention and we can take notice and get rid of things that need to be get rid of and make space for things that need more space. And, it's hard to talk about this because it can be very superfluous, and yet it's still very accurate because it's applicable to everybody. If you don't feel like you have enough time to take rest, then your plate is too full, clearly, right? If you don't feel like you're getting enough nourishment based on the depletion levels that you have, then you have too much going on in your life, right? And when it gets hot outside, it's harder for me to stay at an optimal level of function in the hot yoga room or just in my day-to-day life, because the hot yoga room is that much more depleting to me. And or I don't necessarily every day have the opportunity to go float in a cold pool or cold plunge or do some kind of activity that restores my electrolytes. And so I have to make do with what I have, right? And the body does adapt, but there are certain things that the body just can't overcome over long periods of time, like dehydration, like malnutrition, right? Not getting enough vitamins and minerals, or you have enough vitamins and mineral, but you're sweating them out or washing them out by drinking so much water to compensate for all of the sweating that you may be doing, right? That's just a very specific example of my life. And so do you see how it goes back again to just having too much in your life, having your plate too full? You can't fill the plate with new things that might make it easier, that might make it, so you're able to last longer. And so we go back to that meditation, we go back to Dinacharya, we go back to a weekly ritual where you're cleaning your plate, right? Like we physically clean our plates either by dishwasher or by hand. After we dump all of the scraps, we then wash it to clean it so that it's ready to go for the next time. So not only is it clean, it also has all the space to fill it up with the nourishment that we need, whether it's rest, whether it's food, whether it's water, whether it's anything else that will help build us up, right? It's about building ourselves up rather than ourselves being torn down. So how do we do this? Well, first of all, when was the last time you meditated? That's a good question to ask, and that might be hard for some of you to even articulate. Well, I meditate all the time. Well, did you really get into a state of meditation, or did you just set a timer for 5 minutes and try and sit quietly, right? Efficacy over quantity all the time, right? Quality over quantity all the time. What is your Dinacharya? Do you know what your daily routine is? Do you have a daily routine? How structured is it? And how flexible and malleable is it based on circumstances that might change, right? If you're not malleable, if you're not able to accommodate shifts and changes in the day, well, that may also prevent you from filling your plate with good things, right? It's all about making space for what you need. And if you don't make that space, you're not going to get it. Period. End of story. Is very clear in Ayurveda, but they talk about it in manifestation too, right? If there's not space or room for new things in your life, it can't come. Just like if you have a fish tank and it's filled to the brim, but the water's toxic, if you don't drain off some of that shiesty old water, there's no room to put the new fresh water in. Otherwise, you would just fill the tank and then it would overflow and it would spill the junk in the immediate vicinity. So again, it's this, how aware are you of the things that are going on in your life, whether it's expenditure of energy, whether it's gaining of energy, or anything else in between? I don't know. I can't answer that for you. That is a very personal question and answer. And so if you are not making space for the things in your life that will replenish you, you're always, always, always going to deplete yourself. Now, seasonally, it may be something that happens more often than not. Like in my case, in the hot yoga room, I'm very depleted because of that. In the winter, I'm depleted, but I can cover myself up. I can drink and eat warm things to help compensate for the cold and the dry. Whereas in the heat, once I start sweating and I'm trying to tolerate the heat, there's a lot of loss that's going on. And there's only so much water I can drink in a day. There's only so many electrolytes I can take in, right? So last year I was doing IV bags of saline, sometimes with vitamins, to help compensate for that. And it was good and it helped, but I don't like having to go and get an IV every week. So, it's really testing things out, seeing what works, and making sure that you are doing what's best for you in the moment, right? And no one's going to be mad at you for trying. But if you're continually suffering and you're not doing anything differently, well, then that's a choice, right? And the only choice that I ever see to be the most pertinent in any day, in any way, is how do I be well and how do I be free? That's what I wish for you, friends. Be well and be free. It's not my best work, but I knew that. I set myself up to do that.